you have to stay really excited because your readers can feel it. And so it's very competitive. And if you're not chasing stories that people are really excited about, you're going to lose it. And that's the challenge of media. You're only as strong as you can keep moving.
What advice do you have for people who are thinking about going independent in terms of what to invest in terms of legal, insurance, et cetera?
I mean, I had a founder threaten to sue me this year, and I made it a big piece of drama in the piece. It ended up serving the story.
There's a lot of talk about influencers versus communities right now. What is the number one way you're building community?
Oh, I throw a ton of parties. That's community right there, getting people out on a Wednesday night. While I'm here speaking with you guys, there's hundreds of Feed Me readers who are talking in the Feed Me chat in the comment section right now. I think that's community. I wouldn't want to start Feed Me today on Substack.
Say more.
I think it's a very different ecosystem. It feels more like a social media platform now, and I think that readers just have a different relationship with newsletters. Aren't you glad you started when you did?
Money. I want to know how much you guys make. So Eric.
This is easy in that I talk about how much money I
Yes.
make.
I love this slow jazz walk on. Hi guys.
Hey.
Hi.
How are you? I'm Nayeema, this is Emily, that's Eric, in that order. Okay, so Emily, you have the hottest business Substack. You cover all things money, culture, and more. Eric, you have, I think, the hottest Substack covering tech deals at Wheeling and Dealing in Silicon Valley. So it's only appropriate that we start with what you guys cover, money. I want to know how much you guys make. So Eric.
This is easy in that I talk about how much money I
Yes.
make. Newcomer was founded 5 years ago, me leaving Bloomberg, sort of a guy starting a Substack. I think I launched a couple weeks before the New York Times trend piece. Now, it's a team plus contractors. We put on 4 real events last year. And so we will make more than $3 million in revenue this year with about $1 million in profit. Last year, I announced $2 million, $1 million in profits. So our profit margins have fallen, revenue has grown. We've done sort of new events, and events are definitely leading sort of our business.
I have another question. Do you think
Emily.
Do you think Series B founders are asked that question more? How much money do you make, or do you think small media operators are asked that more?
I think the challenge that I realized I faced was that I have not raised money, and so much of Silicon Valley and my coverage is rooted in VCs are making an assessment and they're giving an evaluation, and we're excited about these businesses because they have a huge valuation. I am resisting that. I own 100% of my business. I used the cash flow from the Substack and said, oh, we could do a little more. We should hire someone. And Riley's here, he joined, and then we built that a little bit more, and we hired Madeline, who might still be here or is on deadline. And so you just sort of grow rationally, but then the public, the sort of business media doesn't necessarily get the story, and so I wanted sort of the recognition, and then you need to, share more than your competitors if you want to differentiate yourself.
Yeah, it's also a casting call. After Eric published the newsletter last year, I reached out to him and I was like, hey, you want to do some partner on some events together? So we did something together this year. What about you, Emily? How's your business going?
Business is great. We will make in the low 7 figures this year, which is fun. Substack, you're more comfortable sharing all this than I am. I feel like everybody looks inside of my bank account at all times.
Well, you're number 4 on the business leaderboard.
Yeah,
so
you
there's
can do
a lot of people can back out.
Napkin math on where exactly it's at. But yeah, I have a small team now. We have an office. We're making a podcast. Some good lawyers. Yeah, is that enough?
That's enough. I mean, low 7 figures is good. I guess you guys are 3 to 5 years in, each of you. Emily, you launched Feed Me 3 years ago. Eric, it's been 5 years since you've been, doing Newcomer, and you actually started on Substack 5 years ago.
Yeah,
right?
I started writing on Substack in 2020, but the current daily paywalled newsletter form has been 3 years.
So, I mean, it is definite. It doesn't happen overnight. It definitely builds. I'm curious, 2 questions. One, when did you know what you had was going to take off? What was that moment for you? And 2, is it still possible today to start? Could someone start this and be where you are? Could someone start this today and be where you are in the year 2029 to 2031? You think?
I wouldn't want to start Feed Me today on Substack.
Say more.
I think it's like a very different ecosystem. I think that the platform has changed a lot. I love them. I work very closely with Substack, obviously. I'm not going anywhere. But when I started on the platform, like I didn't really bring over an audience at all. I didn't have an audience to bring over, and it was like a much more back and forth relationship with my readers. That current like notes situation, it feels more like a social media platform now, and I think that readers just have a different relationship with newsletters. Like, aren't you glad you started when you did?
Yeah, I mean, I think what I didn't realize at the time was that I had this pandemic trend helping me, that we were all isolated. People were literally like in clubhouses listening to, people have the dumbest conversations. And so there was, a desperation for a sense of community, and particularly Silicon Valley. It's like, where is it? People were like, we're going to all leave and move somewhere else. So I think having digital spaces where people were connected really was a great tailwind for my business that I didn't realize at the time. I knew I was eager about, going out on my own, and this was sort of a startup thing that I saw that I could ride for once, and so I was excited about that. But I think the pandemic really helped energize it, and that's gone. And now, so then in-person events, and now everyone's figured that out. So you have to sort of understand where the moment is.
Yeah. So both of you think it would be hard to start something today and be where you are.
I think people are starting successful ones. There was,
a
panel this morning, Alex Heath, Alex Conrad, Alex Kantrowitz. There are a lot of Alexes starting very successful.
If your name is Alex, you can be huge on Substack.
I think it's really hard. I think that I work incredibly hard at building. I worked hard at it, and running it, I work hard at it. But I think that people's connotations with newsletters are different. Like they're maybe less excited to add another one to their subscription list and pay people another few dollars every month. So it's just you have to work harder and to break through that. But I think that newsletters are an incredible way to run a media business right now. I think some people will raise money to try to do it. Some people won't.
And when did you know that you had hit? Was there a particular newsletter or a particular moment where you felt oh, this is it? And how far into the cycle was it?
Some of them are more kind of not. They're very personal. So when you get on a new chart that Substack has launched, that's cool. When Mark Andreessen pays to read, that's cool. When people recognize you at a restaurant, that's cool. I would say it was more of those things, and it's still more those things because there's people in this room that have never heard of it. So it's not you ever really make it. But those things have all been very rewarding to me.
Now they've all heard of it. You got to check out Feed Me, guys, and Newcomer. Okay, Eric, what about you? You had that pandemic trend.
Silicon Valley was very supportive. Bill Gurley, Dara Khosrowshahi gave me interviews early on. So I think there was this sort of Silicon Valley's excited about this. You can sort of see these inflection point moments in the subscription. So I was doing pretty well early on. So it was clear this was going to work. So yeah, I was, the day I went to quit, I almost didn't do it. My wife had to be just do it, So I was definitely not sure pulling the trigger that it was going to be a sort of successful newsletter. But pretty early on, it was clear there was traction. And then, I think there are big stories that you want to do. And when one of those really lands, I love seeing sort of the paid subscribers come in. And so that's affirming. And then you have an event and you see all the people. And and I mean, my place is more San Francisco or the right coffee shops in New York, but random Silicon Valley people will be oh yeah, I read that newsletter.
Emily, you recently announced that you guys are going to launch a podcast called Expense Account.
Yes.
Which you're not hosting. Jay is.
No, I'm not. The first Feed Me podcast is going to be hosted by one of our columnists. It's going to be a weekly podcast about restaurants and restaurant culture. Despite the name of Feed Me, it's not really about food, but some people think it is, and maybe this will only make that happen more. It's not hosted by me, but my columnist wanted a podcast, and I was I can do that. I can make that for you. I think that next year we'll probably make more.
That's great. Yeah, you said first, so it seems like more to come.
Yeah. Well, I had a podcast over COVID about poker, but it was only 15 episodes.
Oh, okay.
And it wasn't affiliated with my newsletter.
Well, maybe it'll resurrect. Eric, in terms of but when you decide to do these things, the podcast or Eric, you with events, are you looking around the market ecosystem and saying this thing is getting hot right now, or is it what
I'm just
Emily just
stumbling
described?
wildly. I mean, I think our first Cerebral Valley happened because literally I'm based here in New York. I was going to San Francisco for my bachelor party. My friends had an office in Hayes Valley, which is what people were calling Cerebral Valley, and they're like, our employees don't come in on Thursdays. So it was like, oh, we could have an event on Thursday and like see what will happen in Hayes Valley. We'll call it Cerebral Valley. And then I started texting people and quickly realized, oh, like these sources, they're good, important people. They'll come and speak. And so within 45 minutes, we had top venture firms and controversial founders agreeing to speak, and it was the right moment. ChatGPT had just come out. And so then, oh man, lightning in the bottle. And then you're like, oh, that's a good strategy. I should do that. But I think I just like reporting. I tend to lean into stories where it's like, oh, there's some momentum here. Like there's something happening. And I leave stories where I'm like, the resistance or whatever, the sourcing isn't worth the like work. And so I think I run my business like I report, which is sort of like pressure testing thing and seeing, oh, there's some give here. Yeah. Let's lean into that.
That is one of the things that, I made podcasts before I did Smart Girl Dumb Questions. I did podcasts at New York Times and New York Magazine and Vox. And I feel there's always a benefit to those things. You have a lot of infrastructure, but there's also a lot of like people who have to agree on a thing. And I wonder if you guys feel this, like having, been at New York and the Cut and having been at Bloomberg and Information, like the joy of just doing what you want to do. If that's a big driver for you.
Well, I wrote a newsletter at Bloomberg and I go crazy because I wasn't allowed to have like opinions. It was always news analysis, which was just like opinion that I was allowed to have at Bloomberg. And so I found that really frustrating. And so being sort of your own boss, writing for your own audience with your own sensibility, not having to ask permission, that's I think what's animating a lot of this and is really satisfying.
Yeah, in a profile, somebody profiled me earlier this year and there's a line like, we spoke to one of Emily's former coworkers and sounds like she often clashed with management or something. So
that's a great
compliment.
Was.
But I'm like, it feels great to be able to test out your ideas and be right a lot of the time. And I didn't really work in places where it's not like people when I worked at Meta were like, yeah, go for it.
No, of course not. I remember Jason Kyler, who ran Hulu for a bit and who was my boss for a bit before he went to Warner, once told me I was insubordinate. And that was like a great clue, actually, to go eventually do my own thing.
That's a good clue.
Yeah. It wasn't necessarily a good thing. He fired me promptly after. But yes. In terms of, the business side of it, because you also, did you bootstrap Feed Me when you started it?
It's still
bootstrapped. It's like all of us have bootstrapped our business. All of us have done deals with, sponsors, advertisers, et cetera. Those were things that on the editorial side of a newsroom, or in the newsroom business and the editorial side, we never were able to do, or we actively didn't want to do.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to talk about how the norms are shifting and how you look back at kind of legacy media and new media and make sense of it. I mean, Eric, in Eric's recent newsletter on his 5-year anniversary, he talked about your newborn baby. Beautiful.
This is the first work event. Like my head is in baby mode and sort of in work mode.
Your head is in baby mode, but your baby is in cashmere supplied by Kleiner Perkins, venture capitalists, and you talk about it in your newsletter, which is wild. I mean, imagine doing that in Bloomberg. You would definitely.
I know. Well, it was like a disclosure that people enjoyed. I said at the end of that newsletter that I feel like a weird push-pull is that my readers seem to want me more embedded in the industry. They want me close to the firms, understand what they're doing, still saying what I think and, calling things out and having opinions. And so I think my independence is proven by publishing things, criticizing Sequoia, criticizing Benchmark, taking down Chamath or whatever. Did
you take down Chamath?
I called him the scam in the arena a couple years. Yeah.
He's still standing.
He succeeded. I can't fell the guy, but I've written negatively about him. So I think the coverage is independent, but yeah, definitely I'm involved in the business side. I think it's important to why we're succeeding. I like it, and ironically, my readers seem to like it because they're like, "Oh, you get it. You know what's happening. You know how to build a business."
Yeah, you're an insider.
Right.
And that's your vibe too, Emma. You're an insider. You're in this world.
Yeah, the Feed Me has always been I built it for my readers. I still build it for my readers. I don't think that I have a particularly ad or brand safe newsletter. There are some people with corporate or school emails that don't get certain letters because of terms or words. So it's not like an ad, like on paper, it's not necessarily like an advertiser's dream, but it turns out that businesses really want to attach themselves to those readers, and ads are like a third of my business now, which is awesome. Yeah.
Amazing.
But it's funny, I have the same thing where really quickly readers will like clock what's happening and be like, this is great, get the bag, whatever. Which is unusual. You wouldn't necessarily see that on the comment section of like the New Yorker or NBC or something.
Right.
Yeah. You guys also, I mean, the other infrastructure that I think is sometimes, that I miss is actually like all the legal and, other infrastructure that you had at a place like the New York Times. David McCraw is like the best lawyer in the business, in my opinion. And recently I had something happen on a Diplo episode that's just gone viral where he joked about having a relationship with Justin Trudeau. It was not real, but it got printed by like everyone that it was real.
And he wanted to date you, right? Or something?
He asked me out in the first 2 minutes, but then he ended up with Justin Trudeau. But my instinctual journalist response was like, oh my gosh, do I need to call someone? Like, do I need to issue something? And, the internet, and then he and I talked about, he put out, it's like the internet has a world of its own, but how do you guys think about building that infrastructure? Like, what advice do you have for people who are thinking about going independent in terms of what to invest in terms of legal, insurance, et cetera?
I had a founder threaten to sue me this year, and I made it a big piece of drama in the piece. It ended up serving the story, but I think, it's a Substack panel. Substack has like a legal defense program.
Have you ever used them?
Yeah, I've used it. I use their lawyer.
It's very Oz to me. Like it's there, but I've never.
Right, no, I use it. It's like you get free legal consulting, so that was helpful. I have a lawyer that we pay more on like the business, deals stuff, but for like review. And then we have insurance. You just sort of cobble it together over time as things come up and you realize you wake up in a sweat one night and you're like, oh my God, we could get sued. Like maybe I should find insurance for that, But yeah, I don't know. It's worked out. You pull it together over time.
Yeah. Emily, do you have?
Yeah, it's kind of similar. I love my lawyers. They're media lawyers. And I brought on an editor this summer who came from a newsroom. So she brought like a real rigor to the team that was formed when she joined. When she came in, which was nice because I hadn't worked in a newsroom for a while. Yeah, I think that's something like this Substack legal team, this like imaginary Substack legal team. I think that it's not clear. I think Beehive is a lot clearer with it.
It's not clear because this is
the commitment of what they're promising is not very clear.
Like they're not going to guarantee you.
I just want people who like are coming from newsrooms that are fully stacked up with editors and fact checkers and lawyers to know that people will try to sue you when you step out and go and do your own thing.
And you have invested in your own infrastructure, your own media lawyers, because you don't really trust in this watery deal with Substack that they have some advice, but they're not guaranteeing. Yeah. I'm sure it's like that.
Which I'm gonna interview this person.
Yeah. Okay, let's do a little lightning round before we close out. There's a lot of talk about influencers versus communities right now. What is the number one way you're building community versus building your own brand?
Oh, I throw a ton of parties. So that's community right there, getting people out on like a Wednesday night. While I'm here speaking with you guys, there's hundreds of Feed Me readers who are talking in the Feed Me chat in the comment section right now. I think that's community as much as people are paying. I'll try to be more lightning. It's like you pay to get the newsletter every day, but I know that those people are also paying to speak to each other in these like paywalled chat sections of my newsletter, and then the parties.
Eric, do you think you have?
Yeah, nobody's doing it better than Emily. Like your comment sections are amazing. I think my people, I had to do the in-person thing. Mm-hmm. It's sort of like, okay, you're important. You're getting sort of the red carpet. Like it needs to be something where you really feel like it's highly curated. And so I think the version of community for me has been in person. I tried a Discord community with some other newsletters, and it's like so different. Like they were, it was like Casey Newton, a platformer. It's like those people hated tech too much, and my people were like, we want to talk about like deals. Yeah. So I still think there's something we could do in trying to get like deal sort of gossip, but it's so hard when they can do their own text threads.
Okay, lightning. Can Patreon beat Substack, and has Patreon offered either of you a deal?
I talked to them and made 0 cents. No.
They didn't call me, and no.
Okay. What was your gut reaction to Puck's acquisition of Airmail, an acquisition that was, I think, a lower price point, or about half of what Airmail had raised? Like, did you have any thoughts of that as you have your own newsletter business?
Media loves to buzz about money-losing media businesses, and so it's two money-losing media businesses joining forces.
Yeah, the only person in that situation who I'm really friendly with is Graydon.
I know. Who's no longer there? Yeah, I do like Graydon. Okay. Who are you jealous of? Eric, you recently said Barry Weiss. Explain.
I'm jealous of the fact that she can have sort of a neat ideology that she can sort of, okay, this is where we are in the world, and sort of build a publication around it. I've built sort of a publication that's still built around an identity, like a human being, where it's like, sometimes I think this, sometimes I think that. There isn't like a newcomer off the shelf, like this is what we think about the world. And so I was jealous about that nice package, and we're never gonna have that, and I think it's inauthentic, but I'm jealous of what you get if you're willing to say, we're this, we're this, we're this.
For a long time, I didn't know it was Eric Newcomer. I just thought it was like Newcomer. Like, I didn't know that you were a person.
Yeah. Are you jealous?
And then I did, and years have passed. I'm not really jealous of anyone. I'm like very, very grateful for everything. I never thought it would be this fun and this great. So I don't.
Yeah. Last one. I remember meeting Heather Cox Richardson, who writes letters from an American, the number one, I think, Substack, if I'm not wrong, or one of the number one. Is Dispatch number one?
One of the top ones.
Yeah, one of the top ones.
Like number one.
But like, it's crazy. She has written a letter, a nightly newsletter, almost every night since 2019, which is like a bajillion newsletters, or like 1,500 to 2,000. But as you guys look forward, and especially like, we're all millennials. Eric, you just had a baby. Like, how do you think about the grind it takes to have built the business to where it is, and how you keep scaling it?
Well, I mean, you come out of the gate and you have all these fresh ideas and things Bloomberg wouldn't let me write, and you're hungry. I feel like year 2 is so hard. You're like, oh my God, I have to do it again? I had those great ideas, like I'd stored them up. And so then you start to build a team and you say, okay, I need more people. There needs to be more infrastructure. You get excited about other things, but you have to stay really excited because your readers can feel it. And so it's very competitive. And if you're not chasing stories that people are really excited about, you're going to lose it. And that's the challenge of media. You're only as strong as like you can keep moving, and so I have to stay excited both in terms of what we're writing about, the events we're building, but then also build a team of people who are really enthusiastic and have their own sort of crusades that they want to go down.
Yes to all that. I also am very lucky that my writing is about New York City, so it's like we can go outside on the street and find at least one thing to write about, and if you go up every other block, you'll find something else. Like, it's the best, it's the most fun place to write about, especially in the world of money.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Emily, Eric. 2 money-making media businesses, not buying each other, not joining forces.